Let's start with this big inflows figure then. You talk about all categories of clients being dynamic over the period. What do you think is really behind this big inflows story?
Well, good morning, Anna, and thank you for having me. You're absolutely right. 2021 was a remarkable year for a number of reasons. We've reached the 2,000 billion milestone, thanks to the acquisition of Lyxor, of course. But also, as you are mentioning, thanks to a great commercial momentum. We raised 75 billion in medium long-term assets, which is actually a record, with all the categories of clients, but especially with our distributors worldwide. Amundi has around 600 clients, which are distributors around the world. And the dynamics was very important at the end of the year. Of course, one of the reasons being that the markets were still booming at the time.
Good morning, Valerie. 65.6 billion euros of inflows is obviously pretty incredible for a quarter. I do want to, though, swivel slightly to address some of the claims made by the campaign group Reclaim Finance. And they have criticised your Lyxor acquisition, and I say to quote, calling it a climate disaster, and also to quote, your loophole for passive investing is a real problem with your climate ambitions, and that your targets on climate are too vague. What more are you doing to address these criticisms or to respond to these criticisms, particularly in context that the company's chair has just been appointed by the French government to kind of help French financial institutions, reach the Paris climate goals?
Well, good morning, Mark. Well, the Lyxor acquisition, as you are mentioning, is a very important step for Amundi. It allows us to have a 14% market share and to be the first European ETF provider. ESG is a very serious topic. It's part of our DNA. It was one of our responsible investment was one of our 4 funding pillars when we were launched in 2010, at a time where nobody was speaking about ESG. So this is obviously incredibly important for us. We took strong commitments in our plans between 2018 and 2021 that we all reached. We just announced a new plan called Ambition 2025. And one of the key elements of this plan is actually that we will reach 40% of our ETF, which will be ESG by 2025. What is very important in this acquisition is that, of course, we will apply the policy that we have within Amundi to the Lyxor ETFs.
Okay, and I know you've spoken in the past about, or the management has spoken in the past about not seeing necessarily a conflict between passives and ESG. Let me ask you about the higher rate environment that relative to recent history is now anticipated in Europe, Valerie. How much difference is that going to make to your business? Is it already making to your business if we see higher interest rates from the ECB?
Well, you're right, and rates is obviously an important topic for the whole financial community today, and this is obviously the role of an asset manager like Amundi to anticipate this kind of trend. Our economists have planned for a long time the fact that the inflation we're in would be probably longer term than what was said. So our portfolio managers have been, of course, adapting their strategy to this situation, and this is one of the reasons why we are having these great results in 2021. 1.3 billion net income in 2021, up to 37% compared to last year.
Following on from that, you say it's to anticipate trends. You say you've done this good performance because you expected inflation to come in higher. Are we now in a bond bear market?
Well, once again, I think, and I remain very optimistic for 2022 for Amundi. Our portfolio manager have anticipated this situation. They are actually diversifying our portfolio to make sure we keep the savings of our clients safe. And these rotations are important, both in emerging debt, for instance, or in value equities.
Let me ask you about bond market movements. Clearly, we've seen the markets adjusting quite quickly to this new rate expectation, Valerie, in recent weeks. Does the pace of the movement in bond markets alarm you? Does any of the spread widening that we're seeing in bond markets alarm you?
Well, once again, it's an important topic for the industry and for portfolio managers, but I'm extremely confident, because what is important in this kind of situation is to make sure you diversify properly your portfolio. Two elements of reassurance: the positions of our portfolio have been short durations for a very long time now at Amundi. And second, the bond portfolios we have are incredibly stable because they are mostly with our insurers clients.
Valerie, it's just a few months until the French presidential election. What's your perspective on Macron's relatively hands-on approach to business? He's blocked quite a few deals in the last couple of years compared to some predecessors. And do you consider Zemmour a pro-business candidate?
Well, French election, as any election, is always an important topic for investors. But I do not feel French elections are so much concerns right now. What is important, of course, in this kind of situation is to stick to stability in terms of economic, in terms of tax, in terms of regulation. This is important for the growth of company, and this is important for the savings of our clients.